It's only 333 days to Christmas. Welcome to the fourth episode of the NoScript show. How are you doing?
Spicy intro there, bro. You know I love me some Christmas. I just took down my tree.
You better put it back up again. It's only 11 months away.
So fucking 11 months away.
Yeah. They've started putting up the chocolates and shit for Valentine's Day already. At the local cafe.
That's one holiday I'm gonna take a skip on this year.
I'm gonna go to a beach in Bry or something.
Yeah.
Dude, okay, so again, it's been like another hectic week. Like it's just not stopping.
The problem is that you need to manage your tilt levels better. That's what you need to do.
This is true.
Everyone needs to manage their tilt levels better.
Yeah, thanks for introducing me to the concept of tilt levels. It definitely helps describe how I feel most days. A tilt level out of 10. Yesterday was a roller coaster, dude.
It ended well, though. It ended well. Like, we got some good Overwatch going.
We did. We really did, yeah.
I wouldn't say it ended well for that dude on the other team. What's his name? Elgin?
Oh, yeah, like, he's never going to hear this, but shout out to Elgin, who we faced off in like 4 matches in a row, and the dude fought like a champ. He fought like an absolute champ, and for like 3 of those games, he was in teams with a bunch of scrubs, and he was like the only guy holding the team together.
For those of you who don't know, Hogan and I enjoy ourselves a bit of this team. I guess it's like a cross between a MOBA and an FPS.
You use 2 abbreviations that are even more obscure to explain Overwatch.
It's basically a first-person shooter where you just, I don't know, you capture objectives or you push an objective along, and we enjoy ourselves a bit of that. Those of you who are on our Discord will know that. And last night we had a couple of good games, but as you pointed out, there was one brave soul on the other team.
And he's like legitimately my player of the week, because it's like he kept changing character classes depending on the situation. The dude was playing like an absolute professional, and the rest of his team is like just not backing him up. He's not getting healed. There's no shields, fucking nothing. I'm just
like it's so painfully obvious that he's carrying the team. It's like the most scrub teammate ever. Like I felt bad for shooting at him. Actually, like I was just like. Dude.
Yeah, but yeah, like I was hoping that like there was a way for us just like message him or something, like, dude, we know what you're going through. Yeah, our condolences.
Especially like that was the one highlight, and the other highlight for me is, you know, those of you who don't know, I main Mercy, one of the main healers, and one of Wogan's mains is Farah, and that's a combination that's generally hated amongst people, because the Rocketeer lady Farah can dish out a lot of damage when I'm damage boosting her, and there was one guy in our team at the end of one game who was just like, no heals from Mercy. Like, you can see, I saw it in the chat later. He's like, why no heals, Mercy? I'm like, 1, you're on the other side of the map. 2, you're fucking Junkrat. 3, fuck you. I'm rolling with my mates.
But also, just for clarity, that was one of the games we won. Like, the dude was salty after the fact that we won the game.
That's how you know when the salt is at its maximum level. Is that even in victory, you still got to make snide remarks to your teammates.
Amazing stuff. But yeah, it's like Wotan has kind of dragged me into it, and I'm actually really enjoying it just from the strategy point of view. Because I'm an old school Unreal Tournament gamer. Back when it's like, yes, you had skins and characters, but they meant fuck all. It was all about like getting to your favorite weapon quickly. And this is like, no, there's way more planning involved, so I'm digging it. Cool. I guess we should point out that last week our first meme review show dropped on YouTube. We're doing this now. We're doing both. There was a little bit of confusion, like, are you guys just doing memes now? And it's like, dude, I wish. But no, we're actually...
no, we need this. We need this podcast to vent our dissatisfaction with the world.
But yeah, so there's a meme review show that just goes to YouTube, and we're also doing it on the same day as the podcast every week.
Yeah.
So, cool. I'm looking at my list of notes for this week, and it's just, again, there's so much. I want to start with the Fire Festival, though, honestly. Like,
I think I'll let you drive here.
I'll just okay. So the Fire Festival was like 2016 or something, and it was. If you don't know about it, basically it was Ja Rule and some shady operator got together. Literally Ja Rule, the rapper. Like,
Let's keep in mind, Ja Rule is the guy who lost a '90s or early 2000s rap beef to 50 Cent. Okay,
so
the fact that he's your flagship celebrity on your festival
Yeah.
doesn't bode well. It's like having fucking Typhoid Mary be your flagship celebrity at a health festival. Come on, guys.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So the whole thing is like there's a documentary that dropped on Netflix a couple of days ago, and actually just like the event itself, there's more controversy because I think it was HBO also came out with a different documentary that has like a different take on the situation. So now there's this beef between the two documentaries, which is amazing. But the Netflix one is great. Like they interview all the people and they basically show how this like huge vision just like utterly collapsed when reality set in, and it was done very, very well. But it was crazy because I remember like it was this huge news, and then there was like a tweet of a sandwich in a styrofoam box, and that one tweet brought down the whole festival. But you got to see the actual, because the whole Fire Festival, the point of it was to promote a booking app for like hot talent. Like the whole thing was they were trying to launch like a marketplace for top celebrities to manage their bookings, and the festival was a way to promote it, but it got out of hand. Like they created this insane vision of like, you know, hot Instagram models on a beach in the Bahamas, and now they want to bring in like 10,000 people, and they just steadily, like everything starts falling apart. Like for one thing, the island couldn't hold 10,000 people, but even before that, my favorite detail, and this is all you need to know about these guys. The owner of the island was formerly owned by Pablo Escobar, right? Whose history I won't go into.
Mwah, nice.
I know. So
Personal libertarian hero of mine.
So the new owner of the island agreed to the festival being held there on the one condition that this changes the profile of the island. And so the very first fucking thing they do on the first video they release is they say, party on an island formerly owned by Pablo Escobar. So right then and there, the sponsor was like, fuck off, get off my island. And like just from there it went downhill. But it's amazing to watch because these people were so committed to this project that one of them almost sucked dick at a customs office.
Look, as I said to you earlier, I'm all for you know, whoever is sucking dick of whoever is, you know, what two consenting adults do, I genuinely couldn't care less. What gets me about it is like in the clip, he's like the most, you know, dignified, collected guy, and he's busy the silver-haired, dignified, collected gentleman, and he's busy talking about what is essentially him being prostituted out to a customer.
So,
am I insane in thinking maybe when that happens, that's a red flag, guys?
yes. Oh, there were so many red flags. Like, just like looking through it. So, and the story there was basically that was just a red flag after like 5 others. One of them was they had to supply a minimum amount of water on the island, but the island had no infrastructure for that. So they were trying to import like 2 container ships full of Evian bottled water. That got stuck at customs in the Bahamas, and they wanted $175,000 to release it same day. That's when the guy in charge of the project was like, just go down there and suck his dick, sort of thing, to get the shipment through. But anyway, that's one moment in like this rolling catastrophe. I strongly recommend that documentary on Netflix. It's just FYRE, Fire. It's a great
I
watch.
just love it because it's such a beautiful like implosion. Like the whole thing is just.
And the thing that it highlights is these people bought into the vision so much that like it became that sunk cost fallacy. There was a point of no return, and then beyond that, they just kept plugging away, knowing it was going to fall apart. And then it's they've even managed to get like footage of like the internal Skype calls and stuff after the festival collapsed and all that sort of thing to put the documentary together. So it's like,
okay, now I have to watch the documentary.
oh yeah, and, like it even covers the fact that the dude was out on bail and then like started arranging with a friend of his to like start a whole new scam where all the people that had bought Fire Festival tickets and got screwed, they then started getting hit with marketing to buy other celebrity shit. And it's just like the dude just won't fucking stop. It's amazing. So great documentary. Not that there is a pick of the week segment, but that would be it in the last week that I've seen. Definitely worth watching.
Low key though, got to admire the man's hustle.
For sure. Like,
You scumbag, but I gotta let the man's hustle.
it's like a ticket to this festival was like, the least you get away with is like $4,000 before flights and like travel to the thing. So it's like the top ticket was, party on a cruise yacht with a celebrity was like $250,000. Like that was the top tier tickets. And then it's like astonishing the amount of money that these guys pulled in. So now there's like an class action lawsuit, obviously, against this dude. And it's just like, the whole thing was just amazing. I think I took the wrong lessons from that. It's like people are very easy to coax into doing stuff that they wouldn't normally do under the right kind of pressure. That's really what this documentary showed us. Crazy shit. I have some good news.
Well,
Huffington Post's opinion section is shutting down.
Hashtag learn to code. Oh.
So what's the story here?
So the crux of it is that the Huffington Post's opinion section, as you said, is shutting down because, as it turns out, making ridiculous outrage media that they were pumping out, which I mean that's what they do, and how hard is it to pump out outrage media these days? If you fail to make a profit off of that, then. But anyway, they failed to make a profit out of outrage media. And so it was announced that they were shutting down, and a lot of the HuffPo writers were like, oh, myself and various other talented journalists are being laid off.
Talented journalists. Let's just hold there for a second, because I want to
talented journalists. Do you know who the majority of HuffPo's opinion section is? It is fucking upper middle class. Your parents paid for you to go to Cornell or Columbia or Stanford University, where, and all of those are, the last time I checked, a semester at NYU even, which is cheaper than Columbia in the same city, Columbia and NYU are in the same city. A semester at NYU alone is about $50,000. Now, let's say you go to somewhere like Columbia, that's like $80,000, $100,000 a semester. Your parent. That's who works for HuffPo. It's wealthy, privileged white women. Yeah.
Literally, and there was a photo when they opened the that opinion section, and it's literally like 12 white women with laptops are on a table, and it's like, look how diverse we are. We're all just like,
yes, I love that. The funny part about that is that somebody took a photo of that, and then what was it? I think it was the NRA's advisory committee or whatever. Right. Juxtaposed it with the NRA committee or whatever, or was it some other? It was either the NRA committee or some think tank, conservative think tank.
Yeah.
And their committee consisted of, I think, three black people, two Asian women, maybe 3 white people, and various men and women of various backgrounds. I'm like, diversity.
And also just on the journalist part, a lot of what they did wasn't journalism. It was just hot takes that they just sat and got tips, sort of thing. Like, it's not like they sent people out into the field to do any research. They just wrote whatever garbage they felt like. That's why it's called opinion. So my favorite is that if anyone's looking, like some of the things that these people are posting, if anyone's looking for a journalist experience with gender and politics, I'm like, no one's looking for that. Nobody. Which is where Learn to Code comes from, isn't it?
Learn to code. So what is it? I don't even know who first started it, but it was some person with
the hive mind,
as people say, an anime avatar. People with anime pictures on their profiles for Twitter, and it was some person who innocuously commented "Learn to code," which, as you've pointed out on multiple occasions, objectively is a good skill set to have right now.
It's not a good skill set, it's a basic skill set. In the next 10 years, if you can't do basic programming, you're going to be behind. So yes, anyway.
So somebody innocuously commented that, and then it just caught wildfire, like the internet wildfire. I saw one clip of like 10 different anime avatars, and they all work together to spell out "Learn to code."
Yeah, they tweeted one letter at a time in this major chain, LEARN, and it's just like,
I was like, that's peak internetism right there.
For me, the peak internet, though, was when someone was like, Twitter, what are you going to do about this targeted harassment? Thousands of people telling us to learn how to code. Like,
not kill yourself, not you deserved it, not Just learn to code.
Learn to code. And it's like that's almost peak HuffPo, because learn to code is a dumb meme that a bunch of people found funny, and they interpreted that as like some sort of racist, homophobic attack or whatever. And it's like, when is Twitter going to stop this? I'm like, dude, fucking never, because there's nothing wrong with what they just said. The fact that you don't like it doesn't matter. Like, get off Twitter. If it upsets you that much, block notifications. But anyway, so it's like, Huffington Post opinion shutting down. I mean, my first take on that was the fact that it was a business decision. I mean, all these digital media companies, BuzzFeed cut back, HuffPo is cutting back, and it's like, this type of media is obviously not profitable. If it was making money, then as bad as it is for discourse, they would keep pushing it. But it's not. So it's like, okay, here we go. So anyway, I count that as like a net positive, because what they were producing was not journalism. It just wasn't. So on that basis alone, great. Let's hope they get real jobs, like, honestly, because...
Get real jobs. Get good, nub.
Learn how to
Get
code.
good, noob.
Oh, man.
That's the other thing I get called when I heal you exclusively in Overwatch. Is like, I just see like little comments in the chat like, noob, mercy. I'm like, not a noob, bruh. Look at me. Look at my level. I'm very much doing this intentionally. I'm not healing you. There's like 2 other healers on the team. Like a team of 6. 3 of us are healers. If one of them isn't healing you, that means you've pissed off every healer on the team so much that nobody wants to try save your ass.
Yeah. Dude, it is fun, though, that those games are very necessary.
Yeah. So yeah, as the Twitter trash. And then, of course, we have the dumpster fire that is the Covington case.
Yes.
Sure. Since I have some personal stake in that, shall I lead in on that?
Do it.
And because for me, it started when Marlene Yakel tweeted out, the initial video, which granted, we should have waited longer, but all she said basically was, this is not what conservatism is about. She tweeted something like that. Yeah. This isn't what it's about, basically. Yeah.
So that video, to recap, it was basically a bunch of kids in MAGA hats standing there while some Native American was beating on a drum, sort of thing, and it looked like the kids were harassing the Native American, right? Like that was.
Yeah, the way they initially shot it and cut it together made it look that way.
But then the reality turned out to be different, and then it's obviously kept going.
Yeah.
So where are we now?
Yeah. So she tweeted like something to the effect of, "This isn't what conservatism is about," and I retweeted her, and I also said, it's this is not a great thing to do. This shouldn't be okay. But at no point did either of us say, "Oh, screw these kids and hunt them down and kill them," or anything like that, or dox them, or any of the kind.
Nothing.
We just expressed disapproval.
Literally that, yeah. And not even that. It's like, later it turned out the video was fake and everything, but even if it wasn't, that's still the right thing to say. Like, civility in politics, please. But
yeah, so that's what we tweeted, like something to the effect of, disapprove, this is not civil. And on top of that fairly innocuous like tweet both of us made, both of us came out saying, oh, by the way, it turns out that this video is a bit of a crapshoot. We were a bit quick off the mark. Sorry, we apologize. Both of us. I suffered less so than she did. She got dogpiled by people, like dogpiled. And it just makes me think, there's this sort of a thought process where people go through and they say, never apologize to the leftist outrage media. But the amount of people who had like hashtag MAGA in their profiles that were dogpiling on her, and like, and she's technically of their tribe. She helped with the Republican thing in her home state of Georgia. She's the way they were dogpiling on her. I'm thinking, how many people, many of whom are much greater than myself or her, like in terms of Twitter presence, would have actually had the integrity to come out and apologize. And she's no good deed goes unpunished, essentially, because both like international and local celebrities tweeted us like, I'm just like, guys, like I got to a point where like I'm just not going to apologize anymore.
So it's part of the reason I'm on Twitter again, but I'm trying not to do the politics, and I'm failing at it. I'll admit. But at least I'm learning to block people. So there's this interesting effect there, and we've spoken about it kind of offline before. Mirror engagement,
Yeah.
and it's actually like I have to credit epsilontheory.com, Ben Hunt. If you want like great insights into the way markets behave, I think Epsilon Theory is great. They did not pay me to say that. I legitimately subscribe to
This
their
is not
blog.
a paid advertisement.
It's not a paid advert. No, it's like
We are open to that, however. If anyone's listening, I cannot
Dude,
speak for Logan, but I'm willing to be a total corporate shill. Like
I'll tell you what. I will help you produce that podcast. I just don't know if I'll be in it.
I'm willing to drink nothing but Monster Energy drink for the rest of my life to be a sponsor.
It's like how big do you like your kidney stones? So
yeah.
Jeez.
But
anyway, so the thing about mirror engagement is that there are most people on Twitter who engage actively. They don't engage with the understanding that the other people are real human beings. It's all like sport. It's all performative. You pick sides, whatever. So, for example, in my case, a lot of the people that follow me, they follow me because at some point I tweeted out something about the tech that I'm working on, like, scripts or plugins, or it's like, the very useful tech stuff. And I know that that's gotten me quite a few people who know me in that light. But then I tend to, whenever Twitter opens up, it's always some kind of political garbage fire. So sometimes I weigh in from time to time. And the exact same thing, it was one tweet, but the same principle happened to me yesterday, actually. One of these local guys, that there was like this trend of people putting lackadaisical in their name to kind of signal that they're in this tribe of like white people who have no purpose or something. I don't know. There was a... So
is this the one you copied me in on?
No. This was... I saw his tweet and I was like, fuck you, and I just blocked him. So basically the story is Gwen Ngenya has quit the DA's... the position as the head of...
Spicy. We need to get into that.
That story is spicy as fuck because for whatever reason, her resignation letter went public. And we all have a copy of it now. And it just points out that the DA is shit at policy. And if I wasn't already not going to vote for them, this would be the next thing. That's like, I'm not going to vote for you. But anyway, so a lot of the people are focusing on the fact that, like, the outrage about it is, she's trying to make the DA look bad and like whatever. But what I'm observing from a different point of view is, here's a strong, young, independent black woman who didn't take any shit from anyone and has now quit on principle because she wasn't getting the job done. And I'm like, how much of this outrage is just straight up patriarchy? How much of it is a bunch of men who feel incompetent at what this woman's achieved by the age of 27, 28 in politics to be the head of policy for the opposition? That's huge. Even though it turns out that the job was basically ineffective. And which also made me think maybe her whole appointment was just politics, right? That they never intended on having her have an impact. So I look at it from that point of view. What if they just recruited a young black woman so that they could buff their own diversity credentials, even though all the policies actually set by the donors? And that kind of comes clearly through in her resignation letter. So first I tweet out, unrelated to this, I'm sorry for everyone who follows me for tech stuff and just hears a bunch of politics, but this kind of stuff does keep me up at night, like the education and everything else. And then it was of Quinton's thread about, this Gwen thing. And I tweeted, the optics of this are just insane because there's, this young black woman who's achieved more in politics than most men ever will. And it's a bunch of men who are upset at her. So what if it's that? And then someone responded to that, it's like a daisical character, something like, oh, first you tweet an apology and now you tweet this, like make up your mind, something to that effect. And I'm just like, fuck you, dude. And I just blocked him because it's like, I'm not here to perform for anyone's benefit, right? And and that's the thing. It's like, you might see Marlene Yackel as a person with feelings and opinions, but so many people see her as an avatar that's meant to have opinions that align with theirs. And the moment she steps out of line, that's a huge problem.
Which she often does.
Yeah. And so...
outside of the...
And so that's mirror engagement. And it's like, that's just another way Twitter is fucking toxic. People don't... It's like, yeah.
Mirror engagement. Yeah. I do remember us chatting about this.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's... no, that painfully describes a lot of Twitter, actually. It really does.
It's like,
and yeah, shout out to Quinton, a.k.a... What is his handle now?
Psychologist with a Q, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, I just... Because I look at this and I go, okay, I'm all for Twitter being like huge arguments where you respect the other person sort of thing. That's cool. But it's when you start expecting people to basically behave like players in a sports team, and when they play a bad offense, you get upset at them. It's like, it's basically sport, because exactly like people have like their favorite team is the whatever, the Sharks, Western Province, whatever the fuck, and they're like, they take.
Well, if you're a degenerate, yeah, I guess your favorite team is the Sharks. So.
But
That's right. I just said it.
Oh shit!
Victoria in the house.
Got to stick up for your team, right?
Yeah.
But have you seen like people take
I'm
personal?
not immune to tribalism. So
No,
yeah.
for sure. But it's like people take personal offense when like a player that they thought was good, and they like talk up, oh, he's gonna have a good season to their mates or whatever, and then this player screws up, and they take like personal offense of what this guy did, and I'm like, you realize this dude doesn't know you exist, doesn't give a shit about your opinion. He's there to do a job, right? It's got nothing to do with you.
In fact, he might be more pissed off at himself because now he's fucking up in his job.
Exactly. But it's like, to me, it's just amazing. Like, and I think that's what happened. I was in Twitter from like the early days when you could still count the number of people in South Africa by hand. That's when I was on Twitter, and it evolved to a point. Now it's gone mainstream. It's like entertainment for people. Like they follow accounts that they think, have good hot takes, and when that account shows any sort of like concern or self-awareness, like, no, you're ruining my pleasure, it's your fault. And it's like, dude, no. If you're like that on Twitter, just stop, please. We don't need you. Seriously, we need people who actually talk to each other.
Or you could just resolve, as we have, to not care about being the mirror engagement for people.
Yeah.
Like just
and that's right, because I looked at this guy's tweet and I was like, I kind of want to respond to it and explain. Like, my first reaction was, well, I should explain why I said this. And then my second reaction was, I shouldn't really have to explain anything. And then within about 10 seconds, I'm like, actually, fuck you, you're wasting my time. Like that. I'm at that point now where it's just, I'm happy to talk to anyone, but just don't bring your bullshit. It just, So yes, Twitter, dude, and this is, everything gets worse. Twitter makes everything worse now. Like, just, it does.
i.e. resignation letters.
But that's big though. I mean, so...
Yeah, let's discuss that. A minute.
Yeah.
But let's be honest about the letter, though. It's if you had to boil it down to a couple of sentences, the reason she quit was nothing I do actually makes a difference, and you guys aren't who you were supposed to be.
Pretty much.
And you haven't fulfilled your side of the bargain. Goodbye. That's the three things. That's basically.
It's pretty much it. Like her. I mean, before you get to the politics of it, just the substance of the fact that she never actually got a job description. Like, I've been in that situation myself, and if you don't have that, then how do you know what you're supposed to be doing, right? That's the first problem. And then it's like, before you get to the fact that the DA has 3 junior graduates who are their supposed policy research team, and there's like no way that they have time to pull all the information. So the DA keeps making decisions on policy from other sources, probably the people that are funding them. And it's like, okay, we're going to build a policy research division, and then the research division comes out and says, okay, well, objectively, these are the things you have to do. And the DA is like, no, we don't like them, so we're not going to do them. And that's basically what it was. So why have a policy research unit if you're going to let your donors and your backers write your policy for you?
It's like, I mean, it's tantamount to, being dreadfully ill. You go to the doctor's like, this is what's wrong with you, this is what you need to do, and you're like, I don't like that prescription, so I'm going to do whatever. Like, that's basically it. And then being shocked that you're getting worse, or you aren't getting better at the very best. You aren't getting better. That's basically what the DA's done now.
Oh my god, they have. Because like she was one of the reasons why I thought the DA still had their shit together, because you see her on Twitter and she engages actively, and it's like her position is rational and evidence-based, very important things when you're trying to fix a country's economy. And one of her positions, she's against BEE, because why should you favor the majority with punitive legislation? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Rather, do other things. And it's like, my favorite was like people going, oh, she's basically just parroting the IRR and the DA should make up their own minds. And I'm like, okay, guys, you do realize that the IRR were your friends for years because they are precisely evidence-based. Now that you don't like what they're saying, suddenly they're the enemy. No, dude, come on. And it's, I got sucked into a vortex, I'll be honest, because that guy was someone who was convinced that Gwen didn't write her own resignation letter. He thought it was some operative from the IRR who engineered this whole thing and wrote the letter on her behalf.
Of course, the IRR conspiracy, the vast IRR conspiracy. For those of you listening, the IRR is the Institute of Race Relations.
Yep.
I don't think anyone outside of South Africa will know what they are. They're basically like an economic political think tank.
They're sort of like South Africa's version of like the Cato Institute.
Yeah.
They're a think tank that does research and they recommend policy to people that ask. And they have done, I think they've been one of the lone sane voices in the landscape for the last 10 years. And for years, because their research contradicted ANC policy, people were like, yes, they're anti-ANC, they're our friends. Now their research is saying, okay, well, in the same vein, BEE has failed. Oh no, now it's suddenly a problem because the DA has decided they're going to uphold BEE. So now obviously they're the enemy again. It's just like, okay.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, IRR is also technically the internal rate of return, but that has nothing to do with, with this.
Well, a good take.
I've spent the last couple of days looking at like my savings and investments, and none of the numbers look good. And I'm like, you know what? This is depressing.
I could be your accountant. I still need a job. I could be an accountant.
What the Wotan accounting firm? Do you communicate the outcomes solely in memes? Because
yeah, pretty much.
So how many times would you use the DJ Khaled? Congrats, you played yourself. Like
every time you get taxed, congratulations, you played yourself. Or every time you get another. Every time you invoice somebody, I'll be like, that DJ Khaled, another one.
Just that. And every time you spend money on something you don't need, get that like Terry Crews looking pissed off face. It's like disappointed in you. Oh man.
On the upside, there was that story of that kid. Well, I'm not exactly doxing him now because it's in a public newspaper, but that kid from KZN, Vaughan Fish.
I actually have not heard the story at all.
Okay, so basically it's a story of rewarding, a family friend of all sorts. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's a bit of a stretch, but it's just a kid that bought a bicycle in KZN that bought a bicycle for his family's favorite petrol attendant, because chances are if you have a car and you drive regularly, there's a station that you go to fairly regularly, and some people you see. So he decided as a cool gesture, him and his mom to buy his favorite petrol attendant, who obviously doesn't have a car, a bicycle to make it easier for him to get around. And that's it. Like, that's simple. There's I'll tweet it. We can tweet it out from the show's account, but it's like the sweetest picture of this kid and his petrol attendant and fucking getting this kid getting this guy a bike. And it's like simple things like that, that makes me think, you know what, maybe I won't hang myself today. Maybe humanity isn't a dumpster fire.
So but,
it's from goodthingsguy.com. It's that and wholesome memes are like the tiny shining lights on Twitter. that
It is, because I opened it up today and like I follow the SABC news account mostly because they have a lot of production fails and I find it funny. And it's like 99% of all the registration stations open today, except there's one in Magaliesburg where the residents are protesting against the IEC. Like, they don't even want voting registration in their town. And I'm like, okay, that makes no sense, like, at all. But also, why? And then I start questioning everything again. So, yeah, there is good news out there. Like I said, Buffington opinion shut down. That's good.
I love that, like the blue ticks on Twitter are basically trying to equate the phrase "learn to code" with stuff like "Heil Hitler." Like that's, I'm like, I'm interested in the level of mental gymnastics you have to go through in which you can, because I think these people genuinely believe this. So they genuinely believe that these two phrases are equivalent. I'm interested in the level of mental gymnastics you have to be on to equate those two things.
It's not even mental gymnastics. It's like they've built their whole career on attacking other people's feelings, and now that their own feelings are under attack, all of a sudden it's not fair anymore. Because like a bunch of people telling you learn to code, I can definitely step into their shoes and see, okay, look, they just lost a job that they really cared about. They thought they did it well. I'm sure that's what they told themselves. And now there's like the whole internet's like, we don't give a fuck. get a job, I can get how that would hurt your feelings, but also it's just your feelings. Like, they're not calling for your death,
Yeah.
they don't want to see you dead. It's like, they just don't care that you lost your job because for years you've made their lives miserable and the universe balances out. So like, just, get off Twitter for a while.
Unlike the Covington kids who are actually having death threats.
Dude, it's insane. So on that story, the kind of the premier photo,
Covington, whatever.
The premium photo of that is like this kid in a MAGA hat with like this look on his face, like he just looks like an arsehole that you want to punch. And it turns out that's like the sweetest kid in the world. This was like the first time he'd ever been to a rally like this.
That's just how his face looks.
Yeah, and it's like, and like, he just stood and this Native American was going off at him, and the Native American was the one being racist. All you white people go back to Europe. And it's...
Yeah.
And it's like, this kid, I mean, I've been in those situations. Like, what do you do? Well, you just kind of smile and wait for it to be over. Like, what? You're not going to like...
It's funny. I watched the extended video, and during it, there's actually a point in it where, that's, again, like as a kid, I had issues where a lot of my teachers just thought I sounded very sarcastic and insolent.
Yeah, but you do, so...
Okay, I am now, but that's just the way I speak, okay? So I can totally sympathize with this kid that, like, it's just the way his face looks. And during the extended video, you actually see him motioning to his friend, like, dude, he's doing something. Keep quiet. Like, you actually see him patting his friend on, like, calm down and watch this type thing.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, all of a sudden, everyone wants to punch this kid. And it's like, but he did fucking nothing wrong. Anyway, but that's again the way things are represented in the media, because obviously, I mean, not only was the video deceptively edited, but that photo with no context looks bad because we've all been primed to assume that anyone in like a white kid in a red hat is racist. Like, we've just been primed to assume that now, and it's like the story was actually the complete inverse. So it's like, it's just, and the thing is, there was a time when I thought more people should, try to figure out the real story behind the scenes. And now it's like, what? People don't fucking care. They just want to feel like they have a handle on it, and contradictory information is problematic. So fuck it,
Yeah, they don't want evidence of the situation. They want evidence that'll prove what they want.
Yeah, it's like this idiot on Twitter in his bio, He's a liberal, #vote blue, supports the DA. And it's like,
Gwen, I was copied in.
And it's like, Gwen is in the far right conservative. I'm like, dude, do you know what the fuck these words mean?
This is our Twitter beef section of the show, guys.
Sorry,
the jokes and the shout outs are done now. This is just us discussing our Twitter beefs.
And again, I spent maybe like an hour in the last week on Twitter. I spent many more hours building my business, playing games, writing. I was fucking 30 minutes on Twitter, and it's all I can think about. But this dude's like, and it's obvious that he doesn't understand what the difference is between a liberal and a conservative. Like, he just doesn't get it. And it's like, Gwen is a bad person because the DA says so, therefore she's on the far right because the far right is also bad. Like, that's not how logic works. But anyway, there's an inverse correlation between people that put things like truth seeker and classical liberal and speaker of truths and defender. Like, the people that put that shit in their Twitter bios usually have no fucking idea what they're talking about. So some of the smartest people I know have shit like dad cricketer husband or something, and it's like, they're the ones that actually have their shit together. So
like me.
Yeah, there we go.
Computer scientist.
That's it. Oh my god. It's just, so anyway, like I said, I've reached the point where it's like, when people are like, because the Davos, every year that the Davos conference when it happens, like in the 2 weeks around it, everyone's suddenly conscious again that the fact that there are very rich people in the world, and it's like, the elites are controlling everything, and that's why my life is miserable. And it's like, okay, that's not true.
No, it has nothing to do with your terrible economic choices or anything like that. Like,
exactly, and it's like, you know what, I think maybe this is just because I'm getting older, but I've now reached the point where it's like, some people just don't want to learn. Like, they don't want to accept the fact that a lot of their own choices are what got them into their situation. Some of it's legit, like definitely this Bosasa thing, which has been like another, just every day agrees his testimony. Dude, at this point, the whole fucking ANC plus like half the DA has been implicated. It's like you and I might be the only people not implicated in this thing. You know?
That's why we're allowed to publish a podcast. So like, that's why I'm betting the long shot like odds that the NoScript show, are going to win the 2019 election because we'll be the only people left who win.
Just by default, like five people will
These
vote.
dudes from the opposite ends of the country, yeah, those dudes, yeah, they win. By like a weird set of coincidences. Yeah, these dudes.
Yeah, it's like one of those like mathematical errors where like we're the lowest party registered with like the bare minimum votes, but let's by default landslide we got like 5 votes and 1 because everyone else was disqualified.
Well,
Dude, speaking of, I had a look at.
Parliament's gonna be awkward.
This could be the two of us in Parliament, like on opposite sides, throwing shit at each other.
I'll be sitting on my Switch just playing video games. Yeah.
That's what they do in Parliament now. I remember that was it Malusi Gigaba with his iPad playing Candy Crush in the middle of a plenary. They do that already. So anyway, just interestingly enough, I looked up the actual procedures around registering a political party. It's actually not that difficult, and not that expensive either. The expensive part is contesting national elections. That's where you got to like have at least 200,000 to put down as a deposit. I love this. As a national party contesting a national election, you have to pay an upfront deposit, right? And if you don't score any seats in Parliament, they keep your deposit. Like literally, it's like
that's not fucked up at all.
it's basically, it works out to like 300k or something like that, and then you pay it as a deposit, and then if you score at least 1 seat in Parliament, you get your deposit back. But if you don't, then they keep it. And I'm like, who the fuck came up with that system?
But for what? What are they spending it on? And they be the IEC, I assume. What are they spending?
Well, I mean, obviously, putting on the election does cost money, like printing the ballots, hiring the people, all the rest. Like they have.
Stop printing ballots already. Let's make fucking electronic ballots. I'm done with this. I'm done with printing ballots.
Oh god, can you imagine the like Facebook polls being the way we decide Parliament? Can you imagine the comment sections? It would be
sections. Yes, after years of posting poorly researched opinions, I can finally make a difference in the world on fucking Facebook.
Please
like
don't.
to elect. Please clap.
You know what? It's what was it?
The clappy hands between each word. She used the clappy hands.
This
That's
is serious.
triple the number of votes.
And then someone else used the clappy hands and all caps on a new line each word. That's like, that's the most persuasive word. That's the Cardi B school of argument, basically.
Cardi B school So, do you want to explain who Cardi B is? Or do
I feel like you're closer to this culturally than I am, so I'll defer to you.
Cardi B, a.k.a. Bellicus... I remember her full name is Bellicus Alamanzo or something like that. Like, her name sounds like a fucking Harry Potter spell.
I was going to say, dude, she started floating here. What did you do?
She is a stripper from New York turned rapper.
Oh, God.
And with fake ties to the Bloods gang. And she is quite vocal on social media, as are all musical artists, about political policy and stuff. And she likes to believe that by adding a clap between each word or letter, she basically enhances the strength of her argument. Although I will say the most epic, and I'm glad that the word epic is falling out of use now. Like, we need to stop abusing the word epic.
Yeah.
Like, epic used to be used to describe things like the Iliad or Homer's Odyssey or the scale of the universe. Now it's just like some hipster who eats a mildly good tasting fucking avocado toast sandwich. That's not epic.
Louis C.K. has a whole thing about misusing awesome as well. Okay, so that's Cardi B, right? No, definitely.
That's who she is, and she. But the most epic moment with her, and this was a while ago, and I'm glad I lived in a timeline where I witnessed it, is where she went on a tirade about because she had to pay, as you experienced recently. We'll get into that in a moment. She had to pay taxes for the first time on her rap earnings.
Yeah.
And she went on this whole tirade on Instagram video where she's like, and she starts talking about how New York as a city is still dirty as fuck, which, I mean, I've been there enough times to know it's not the cleanest city, but it's a lot cleaner than most cities here. But let's not get into the factors there. and she's like, "Oh, I know niggas in prison. They only get two, 3 pairs of underwear. The prisons run down. Like, where's my?" And she basically gets into this whole thing. She's like, "Uncle Sam, where's my motherfucking money? Where's my money, Uncle Sam?" And she just goes ballistic on taxes because she can't believe that the government is taking so much of what she earned on her own and wasting it. And Ben Shapiro of all people picks up on this, and
no.
and he's like, I mean, because he's conservative Republican, and he's anti most taxes as a lot of conservatives and libertarians are. And he's like, you know what? She's totally right on this. And for a split second, the universe aligned where someone like Ben Shapiro and Cardi B were on the same side about something.
Holy shit.
And people made Shapiro Cardi B 2020 posters. It was amazing.
Wow. That is a hell of a meme. That's amazing.
But how's your taxes going?
So when I was still young, whenever people talk about businesses and tax avoidance and tax evasion, it's always spun as these greedy motherfuckers just want more for themselves.
Scrooge McDuck, bro.
Exactly, and it's like
swimming in piles of money. They just hate paying people money. The employees, exactly. The government.
Yeah, just fucking everyone, right? And so it's like that was always how it's pitched. So that was kind of the opinion I had, and then. Early last year, I quit and started my own business. And this was like the first financial year where I've done like a full year's worth of trading. And if you don't know, in South Africa, corporate income tax, like as a individual with a registered business, I actually pay 3 different taxes. I pay like if I take money out, I pay as you earn on the money I take out, like everyone else does on their own salary. Plus, I've got to pay a little bit of extra UIF twice. Like UIF is deducted from employer and employee. And then at the end of the financial year, any profits I have are also taxed. So I worked out the amount of money that I was going to be taxed off my current financial year. And it is an eye-watering number. And I'm looking at this number going, this is not fucking fair. Because as I'm doing this work, I'm like, there's the Bosasa thing. There was the President's Keepers thing. It's like all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, let's just take a step back and think about this. Because I do understand the whole concept of government raising taxes to put back into public services to make everything function. I agree with that in principle.
Even like me, like the hardcore libertarian that I am, that I'm willing to concede taxes for things like a military and the police, assuming both function well.
Yeah, and it's like I'm sitting here thinking, okay, let's just recap this for a second, because all the money I generated was 100% private, in that the government or the state at no point provided public transport for me to get to places where I want to work. I'm paying for private security, private education, private healthcare. We're like a year or two away from paying for private power and water because the grids aren't holding up anymore. And it's like, okay, hold on a second. If this was like Sweden or something, where it's like, I took, a subsidized public transport to work. I got subsidized healthcare from the state. There was a social safety net. And it's like, okay, that I get. Higher taxes are fine because if I fuck up, then there is actually a safety net around me. In South Africa, that safety net is SASO, for which I probably wouldn't even qualify, and it's a joke. It's an absolute joke. So it's like, okay, what am I actually paying this money for? And it made me really upset. And in that moment, it's like, you know what? I finally sympathize with the tax avoidance people because just on principle, they tend to have to work against the government to get things done, and then the government still takes money from them. And I can see now how that feels. And I'm not even rich. I'm not like fantastically wealthy. I'm still one person, no employees, nothing. But it's like
I can confirm this. Although he does afford some really nice shirts, so there's that.
Which I buy like once every 2 years on average. Like these last me, dude. You know what? I spend less on clothing than like the average lower middle class person does in absolute and relative terms. So even there, because I like one style of shirt, so I buy maybe 10 every year, and that's it. I see people rack up Edgar's accounts to the thousands of rands. I'm like, what are you doing? Why?
But I mean, it's a lack of financial literacy, which is another factor that keeps people trapped in that sort of poverty trap.
So speaking of this, and this wasn't even intentional. In the last week, Oxfam released their annual inequality report, and it's just again. Okay.
So what? Yeah, I actually didn't get into that. Can you tell us more about that? Like, what did that amount to, basically?
The rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer, and people should be taxed. It's the same fucking message every year. The thing is that I pray that there's one fucking thing that I could teach people and that they would get is the difference between cash and equity. That's it. That's all. Because the news media reports things like Zuckerberg gained $20 billion in 24 hours, and they report it as if it's cash income, as if someone showed up to his house with a suitcase full of money and put it down in front of him.
That's what happens, bro. Like, just fucking
And
dump
actually-
trucks of cash, just boop,
Which,
boop,
which as it turns out,
boop,
is
just like expressionlessly swims in it.
exactly, and it's like
the good robot he is.
so. As it turns out, in South Africa, there are actual bags of cash, but that's different. Fucking hell. Maybe that's why. Maybe the only reason we're not cashless yet is just because Bosasa wanted to pay untraceable bribes. Maybe that's like the only reason. We got Apple Pay, we got like EFT, NFT, everything, but like we still a cash society.
Hashtag NoScript party. Hashtag NoScript cash. Coming 2020.
Oh God. So it's like equity, and it's just like so the news reports on it like it's cash, and people go, oh my God, these people have billions of dollars and I have very little, and it's like, well, no. Cash-wise, they also have very little. The smart
You don't
thing...
get to magic it into existence. Like,
You don't. And so it's like, okay, if I were to sit down with somebody who had never kind of tried to grasp this concept, I would explain it like cash cash is easy. Cash you understand. It comes into the account, it goes out of the account. Simple. Equity is like a bag of magic beans. It has nothing to do with money. It's valued in money terms, but they're beans. They're beans for which the value of the bean can change over time based on what other people are willing to buy it from you at. That's it. That's what Mark Zuckerberg has 20 billion of, is a bag of magic beans whose value can change at any time. And it did. I mean, there was, like in the last couple months, Facebook's earning call, they told that they'd maxed out on growth, and so their stock dropped 25% overnight. And so Mark Zuckerberg's personal wealth shrank by 25%. It doesn't mean that someone came to his house and took back the bag of money. It just means that collectively other people are willing to pay less for his magic beans. That's all the fuck it is. So and it's like, this is the one thing that people do. And that's what people like Oxfam's, their message gets traction, because they're like, we should tax the rich because, these people have wealth in the trillions of dollars. And it's like, yeah, wealth. You can't tax equity. You can tax capital gain events. That's a whole different thing. When you convert the beans into money by selling them, you can tax that. But the smart billionaires don't do that. They'll do it very, very infrequently. Like Bezos cashed out his shares. He sold his magic beans for money to fund the time he wanted to go to space. Everyone remember there was the Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos space beef, and that all just went away because I think space. Yeah, that also happened.
That was a thing.
That was a whole thing that we all just forgot about. But there he actually sold his shares, and that's when you can tax it, and that does happen. It's it's just like it. So Oxfam's thing is basically the poor are getting poorer, and their measurements are all relative, obviously, because in absolute terms it's not true. But there you have it. And it's just like, again, there's a wave of people, we got to tax these billionaires. And it's just like, you don't understand how equity works. This is a basic thing. And it's like, I get it. Not everyone knows. I understand that this is complicated stuff. But it's just that one thing. Cash and beans.
In 5 minutes, you just explained it in a way that somebody with very minimal financial literacy could understand.
I would hope so. It's just, yeah.
And I think that's actually one of the least valued technical, scientific, commercial skills, is to relate a concept to something else in a way that somebody with no understanding of that concept can get. That's...
And the truth is, everybody who's ever said, this motorbike or this painting or this novelty set of Star Wars coins are an investment because they understand they can sell it for more money later, already intuitively understands the concept of equity. It's just that that's not how the news media talks about it. They don't say Mark Zuckerberg's shareholding fell by so many percent. They just report it as cash. So anyway, that's my economic rant done. I do actually have one piece of tech news.
Our closing thoughts is actual tech.
So anyway, to come back to the point where I said I was looking up the IEC party registration guidelines like 20 minutes ago.
Fucking voting machines, man! Come on.
So
it's 2019.
No, that's
current year.
That's elections. To register a party isn't that expensive, actually. To register a party on the national stage requires 500 signatures and like 500 rand registration fee. To do it from
you hear that, guys? NoScript party, register us.
And then municipal, like because there's municipal and national, And to register a municipal party is 100 votes, 100 rand registration fee.
Really? No, come on.
Fucking really.
Cannot be that.
It's that cheap. It's that simple.
Wow.
So the thing is, to register it's basically an admin fee. To actually contest an election does cost you more, obviously. But that's just like, I was expecting it to be a lot more than that. But it's literally just like, there's a form they give you. It's literally like 6 pages in Word with like 100 lines where you just like people's names and signatures. And that's all you need, plus a registration fee and some other paperwork. And then you can get a registered municipal party with the IEC. It's like, that's actually a lot simpler than I thought it was. I thought it's like 6 months, review processes, huge application fees, non-refundable deposits. No, they've made it really simple. So I think that's why there's been an uptick in new parties in the last 12 months. There's going to be a lot of names on those ballot papers when people go to vote. So anyway, yeah, NoScript Party 2020. What do you think? What is our policy platform?
Our policy platform is to bring balance to the libertarian force.
Okay.
That and memes.
Yeah, we could honestly register the meme party, and then like all of our communication is just memes.
Bring balance to the force and memes.
Just the meme party, dude. It's like there was a party registered out of Oudtshoorn or George or something. It's like the Tide of Promises party. And it was like just one dude in like his church or something who just got like 100 signatures and they created this party. And it elapsed like the next year. It's like you got to renew it and shit. And it's like, yeah, it's like the Tide of Promises party. There's like
Nice.
5 parties that are Oudtshoorn. There's like all sorts of shit. There's somewhere in Pretoria, there's a residents association that is a political party as well. I forget the neighborhood's name, yeah, but there's like a neighborhood of like 200 houses or something, and they are a registered political party.
I'll have to look that up. 'Cause, yeah.
So it's actually, because the thing, again, like with like the cash is not equity thing, also a very simple mechanic in the world, there aren't like 4 political parties, they're just 4 very big ones, but there are lots of smaller ones. And it is very possible to register a party and make a difference on a local level versus, like you have, because the thing that upsets me is people going, I only have 2 choices, the ANC or the DA. And it's like, no, civics is a lot more complicated than that. You have thousands of places where you can make a difference, not just this one vote every 5 years. So
Yeah.
because municipal budgets are passed every year already, there's more that you can do there versus a 5-year election. So anyway,
Exactly. Yeah.
closing thought is that Google has now built an AI that can thrash StarCraft 2 players, and I am shook.
I, for one, look forward to being told "get good" scrubbed by Google AI.
Get good, ha, ha, ha. And it's like, so I don't know if you know about this, about the DeepMind project.
It's that is my jam. That is something I am tied to, I guess, by virtue of my qualifications in research and all that.
Yeah.
Qualifications which apparently don't exist, but that's another story for another time.
That is an 8 out of 10 tilt level story, I think.
Yeah.
So this is kind of scary as far as I'm concerned. So Google the DeepMind project has trained an AI that can beat the best human players at StarCraft. The way that they've trained it is interesting. There's no APIs, they don't intercept network code, none of it is machine readable. They literally train the AI off the visual output from the game, and the AI has input like a mouse. It actually simulates a mouse. So this AI, I was like, what was the training process was they seeded it like manually with some footage from professional players, and then they put them into what they call the Colosseum, which I think is amazing. So basically it's I forgot what the exact phrase is now. But what they basically did was that they mutated their way to the most effective AI by pairing off AIs against each other. So it's forced evolution basically. Like they would create like 1,000 mutations, put them against each other.
So it's not actually
What's it
kind
called?
of like a genetic algorithm, basically.
Exactly, yeah, pretty much like that.
That's what it is. It's a GA. It's a genetic algorithm.
So in the space of a couple months, they simulated like 200 years of training for this AI. And the limitations are it can only play Protoss and it can only play on one specific map because that's how they trained it. But it beat the top players 9 out of 10 times. And it did that. And actually there's this one of the slides in the presentation, it shows you the feed that the AI is getting, and it's literally just a screen scrape from StarCraft, and it is understanding the minimap unit positions and colors, and then it's making assessments.
That's basically what it's doing. Is it's over time optimizing. If you reduced it to a problem, what the AI is actually saying is optimize how quickly you get rid of this color. You are this color.
Yeah.
Optimize how quickly you get rid of this color.
That sort of thing. Yeah.
I don't think I don't think it's accurate to say it knows that it's fighting this person per se. It's more like it knows that it has to get rid of this stuff.
Yeah, and also like in the screenshot, it also shows one of the things it was projecting was build order. So whether that was programmed into it or it eventually learnt, the concept of a build order, which in StarCraft or any real-time strategy is very important, because in the early game, where you put your limited resources at the start can usually determine how the game goes.
Exactly.
And so right now, sure, it's very limited, but the key thing is that Google is trying to build AI systems that can be trained entirely visually, and they're actually succeeding with this. So as limited as it is, it's scary. And the cool thing is, just like AlphaGo, this AI hold out strategies that other players had never seen before. Like it eventually, like for example, one of the things in StarCraft, there's 2 elevation levels in any given map. There's the ground, and there's like a ramp up to another level. And the way it works is you can see down the ramp, but not up the ramp. So anyone sort of on top has an advantage in terms of visibility. And so the usual tactic is to avoid those ramps and then either scan them or fly something over, something low risk to see what's there and then fight back. The AI was like, no, the optimal approach is to just rush up the ramp every time. And it's like, it kept winning, because the moment it gets visibility, that's it, the advantage is gone, and now it can take the ramp. And so it was like shit like that. The AI never built structures to defend its own base entrance. Like another common tactic is you build blocking structures so that people can't get into your base. The AI was like, no, fuck it, just use units to defend. It's like, and it's kicking ass. So I think that is pretty cool and scary.
Yeah. I, for one, welcome our machine overlords. I'm aiding them in their takeover. So, guys, if you want to fling any abuse at anyone as we're being enslaved, my Twitter handle is @WotanZA. I'm one of those people aiding the rise of the machine overlords. So,
yeah,
there's that.
I'm over people. They're doing a lot of this to themselves, and I could use a bit of rational thought. Oh man,
Yeah.
So cool. So check out our meme review show on our YouTube channel. All the details are on NoScriptShow.com. All the links are there. Yeah, and I think that's us for this week. Any closing thoughts? Anything profound during voter registration weekend in January?
Yeah. Anything profound? No, just that I think the most important thing in the coming months is to keep a detached sense of humor about things, because that's the best way to manage your tilt level. And I think that given the current, I'm not a betting man, but given the current environment, I think some wacky shit in a post-Trump world, some wacky shit's gonna happen in our elections as well. Like some unseen party, something will have some impact somewhere. I don't know where exactly, but I still have that gut feeling.
Yeah, maybe Black First Land First gets a whole bunch of funding, and we end up with Undili on our screens again. Well, yeah, look, maybe not this election, but if we're still here in 2 or 3 years, maybe we should set up the whiskey party or something. We just get whiskey sponsorships, and our entire policy platform is making it easier for whiskey producers to trade.
Exactly, like Whiskey Hero. Get him his wife back. Well, get him a better wife.
Yeah, someone who appreciates the necessity of trying out whiskeys on YouTube while the woman is leaving you in the background. Dude's a legend, though, seriously.
Yeah. NoScript show. I think that's it from my side. Other than if anyone wants to sponsor me whiskey, like I'm 100% for that. Like any companies out there or fans, like you can postnet me some whiskey. I'm down for that. I have no shame in that regard.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll be best friends forever as soon as that lands.
Yeah.
All right,
that's it for me.
All right, well, have a great week and check us out at noscriptshow.com.